Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so if you've ever debated the merits of a high-protein diet or, just wondered exactly how your body prioritizes its fuel sources, well, you are in the exact right place. We're taking a really deep, energetic dive straight into the microscopic world of cellular metabolism to understand how your body actually processes what you eat. Today, we're looking at this fascinating, high-stakes showdown, amino acids versus carbohydrates. We're going to completely break down the biochemical realities of how these two power sources literally stack up when your cells are screaming for fuel.
Which brings up a really fascinating question. Can your body run on pure protein? I mean, it's a debate that gets tossed around constantly in nutrition circles, right? We all know amino acids are the fundamental building blocks of protein, sure. But what actually happens on a biochemical level when we consume way too many of them? When we just have this massive abundance of dietary amino acids floating around, can they actually step up and effectively fuel the body's massive energy demands? Let's find out.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. Amino acids as energy. To really grasp what happens to those excess dietary amino acids, we first got to look at the initial breakdown phase. When your body is dealing with an excess, it puts the amino acids through this rigorous dismantling process known as catabolism. Think of catabolism like stripping a complex machine down for parts, just desperately salvaging what can actually be used for fuel. And what we're left with after that whole dismantling process is this foundational building block called a carbon skeleton. Once the amino acid is completely stripped down, this remaining skeleton is the exact piece the body can start to route toward energy production. It is literally the starting line for our journey.
So, once we have these carbon skeletons, they face a few potential destinies inside the body. One major path is just repackaging. The body can take that leftover amino acid structure and convert it into fat molecules. Specifically, these carbon skeletons can be turned into fatty acids, they can be synthesized into cholesterol, or even converted into ketone bodies. It's honestly a highly functional recycling system.
But becoming a fat molecule actually isn't the most common outcome here. The body has a very distinct preference. The primary destiny for most amino acid carbon skeletons is actually to be used to synthesize glucose. The body takes the vast majority of these stripped-down skeletons and uses them to manufacture glucose molecules from scratch, working incredibly hard just to keep your internal engine running on a fuel it already knows and loves.
Which brings us to Section 2, the glucose conversion process.
Now that we've successfully synthesized this shiny new glucose from our excess dietary amino acids, we have to enter the engine room of the cell. Because this newly synthesized glucose doesn't just, spontaneously turn into fuel. Not at all. It has to run a completely exhausting metabolic gauntlet. It's forced through glycolysis, then it passes through pyruvate dehydrogenase, and finally it enters the TCA cycle. Getting energy from an amino acid is biologically exhausting, and it carries a really high cellular overhead. Think of standard carbohydrate energy like having cold hard cash in your hand. It is ready to spend right now. Amino acid energy, on the other hand, it's kind of more like an out-of-state check. It has to be verified, processed, routed through multiple biological banks, and it incurs a heavy processing fee along the way.
All right, let's get into Section 3, the efficiency showdown.
So, we've mapped out the complex gauntlet our amino acids have to run just to become glucose and eventually yield energy. So, how does our hard-working amino acid-derived glucose actually compare to glucose derived straight from a carbohydrate? Well, the answer is a stunning negative 32%. Yeah, you heard that right. After all of that intense biological work, the catabolism of the excess amino acids, the creation of the carbon skeletons, the synthesis into glucose, and running that brutal multi-step cellular gauntlet, the final energy output is roughly 32% less than if the body had just started with carbohydrates in the absolute first place.
When you really look at the sheer efficiency deficit here, the gap is just massive. If carbohydrate-derived glucose represents our baseline, like our maximum energy output at a full 100%, our amino acid-derived glucose is sitting way down there at 68%. So the absolute crucial point to remember is this: glucogenic amino acids that are converted to glucose are simply a much, much less efficient source of energy. Those overhead costs of the cellular conversion process actively eat away at your body's final energy yield.
What this all ultimately means for your cellular metabolism is honestly just a matter of work versus reward. Carbohydrates provide this direct, highly efficient path right to your maximum energy baseline. Boom, done. Amino acids, however, they require intensive stripping, highly complex cellular conversion, and an absolutely exhausting metabolic gauntlet, only to yield significantly less energy at the end of the day. Your body is doing vastly more heavy lifting just to ultimately get a lower energetic reward.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to really reflect on. Is your body working harder for less energy? Understanding this 32% deficit really changes how we view excess dietary amino acids as a primary fuel source, doesn't it? It's not that the body can't do it. I mean, our cellular machinery is incredibly adaptable, but it certainly isn't the most efficient path. I really hope mapping out this microscopic journey has helped you visualize exactly how your metabolism prioritizes its power. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, and I will catch you on the next explainer.